look at the fact that over 5,000 people have died since the mid-90s, it really calls to question that these policies are not effectively dealing with immigration. I think that we need to place this fence within the context of history and consider at what point are we going to decide that building fences is not an effective way of doing good policy, especially with our neighbors to the south with whom we are not at war.
Ya se le llama el muro de la vergüenza, porque el que afecta es a mi beso el mexicano, por la para hombre y para Dios una ofensa, porque él nos quiso ver a todos como hermanos. Él de la idea, la verdad, no sé qué piensa, a dónde dejan los derechos del humano.
I wrote the law that mandated the double border fence, actually triple border fence, and for that smugglers corridor in San Diego. And when we built the double fence, the crime rate by FBI statistic in the county of San Diego, California, dropped 56%.
I don't think it's a solution. It's a temporary solution, a Band-Aid, and it's not even doing the job that they wanted it to. So it's unfortunate because, you know, aesthetically it's horrible to look at, and it's horrible for the natural resources.
That one, it really hits you in the gut when you see that buck standing there with a couple of does, and they're just standing there looking at that daggone fence. Well, I've got some photographs of deer standing there looking, trying to get across. I followed deer mile and a half further east, a big buck, and he was just going up the fence, couldn't get across. And
now what we have is a 17-foot fence slicing right through one of our nation's greatest conservation areas. What we're seeing is a classic example of habitat fragmentation. As a matter of fact, this whole border fence is probably the biggest experiment in habitat fragmentation that the federal government has ever undertaken.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service property was thought of somewhat like low-hanging fruit because it was already federal lands, and it was thought that it would be much easier to access those lands and build fence on those properties.
Roma is proposed to get a fence that in essence goes along the water and is going to go several miles in either direction. And so these two tracks right here are going to be cut off completely from the water. And we're concerned about this because the Rio Grande is the only source of water for a lot of wildlife, and so any wildlife that comes this way, they're going to directly encounter a fence, and they're going to have to travel a significant distance to reach the only source of water that exists in that area.
And so here we're hearing that they're going to clear parts of the wildlife corridor for this fence, and you know, immediately people started saying, hey, this isn't going to work.
The concerns of locals are largely irrelevant. There hasn't been any local community input. Now they're trying to claim that there has.
They expected me to give them an answer right then. They presented me with the waiver, so I did not sign the waiver.
This is our border fence, the river, the Rio Grande River, guys, come on. I feel you all should come down and really see what you're going to be destroying here.
This is a very serious issue, and if you don't like a fence around or between Mexico and if you don't want a fence between the city and Mexico, I suggest then you build this fence around the northern part of your city.
If there was a wall between you and your bank account, you would find a way to get to the bank.
But the analogy is we've got a kitchen sink with a broken pipe. Instead of sending in a plumber to fix the pipe, which is immigration reform, we keep sending in more mops.
Y no venimos porque nos guste este suelo. Muchos vivimos anhelando el regreso. Mas mientras que haya miseria en nuestros pueblos, mientras que el dólar tenga más valor que el peso, no va a haber de otra, vamos a seguir viniendo, aunque acabemos deportados o hasta presos.
I'm not going to give it up. It's not that easy. It's all I have. It's all I have to connect me with my past.